Hey there everybody, it is a new year. 2023 is upon us. That is a crazy year to be thinking about. You'd think that we'd have flying cars and all kinds of cool stuff happening here and there, but really it kind of just looks like 2012, but like a little bit better and sleeker. Kind of funny how that works. But there are some amazing motorcycles coming out in 2023 that I am very hyped about and I'm going to be trying to buy for giveaway bikes and doing reviews on. Let me know if you can guess what bikes we're going to be doing in today's list before I tell you and before you look at the chapters in this video. Let's get started. All right, folks, I've got all the stats and figures pulled up here on my phone because, as I mentioned many times, I am not Rain Man. I cannot remember all of these facts and figures. So the first bike I think everybody is super pumped on in 2023 is the Suzuki GSX 8S. Now, I made a whole dedicated video about this, kind of doing my first impressions on it, trying to let you guys know how I feel about this thing. And spoiler alert, I feel like it's going to be a bit of a kind of entry-level, normal, kind of middle-of-the-road thing. Everybody's doing this parallel twin kind of motorcycle. Doesn't really feel that interesting to me, but the cool thing about this GSX 8S is it's a brand new motorcycle from Suzuki. They're not using any old architecture, they're using a new frame, a new engine, which is pretty cool. That must mean that it's gonna be pretty awesome because they have all those years of racing R&D to rely on, so pretty excited to see that. The Suzuki GSX 8S doesn't have any pricing confirmed yet, but I'm gonna put out a guess here, and we'll come back to this video later on to see if I was right, of about $84.99. I think Suzuki's gonna come in right at that price point. I think if they are pretty aggressive, they'll come in at $81.99 and really just mop the floor with the MT-07 once and for all. Supposedly going to be making 82 horsepower and 57 foot-pounds of torque, which is pretty nice, out of a 776cc parallel twin engine weighing 445 pounds ready to ride. So those are pretty good figures, nice and peppy, nice and torquey. I think the GSX 8S is going to be a pretty fantastic choice for you looking at that kind of entry-level, kind of mid-tier commuter motorcycle. Maybe you can put some saddlebags on this thing, maybe a top box in the back, a nice tank bag in the tank. That would be pretty sweet. And then you can have a motorcycle that you can bop around with. It's a great looking motorcycle, and I think that Suzuki's gonna sell a whole lot of these, if we're being completely honest. I'm also really curious to hear how it sounds. Gonna be having a 270-degree crank and some pretty cool features as well. Nice TFT display, quick shifter up and down, kind of a cross balancer thing that they have set up on it to make it nice and vibe free. So Suzuki GSX 8S could be a lot worse. Pretty hyped on that one. Let's see the next motorcycle. All right, the next bike that I'm most hyped on in 2023 is one that people are already kind of riding and feeling out a little bit here in 2022 and the prior year. It's that new Honda Hornet 750. This thing's gonna be really interesting. Again, ushering in this new era of kind of parallel twin UJM motorcycles. So everybody's coming correct and trying to dethrone that MT-07. I'm just waiting on Kawasaki to release an updated Z750, maybe with the parallel twin engine that has a 270-degree that is the same as all these other ones. So this is all pretty exciting stuff. So the Honda Hornet 750, the price is $7,900. Crazily aggressively priced motorcycle. The styling, not really to my taste. It kind of looks like a CB500F with a bit of a red frame and kind of a beefed up look to it. Not super interesting, but Honda, they play it safe. They don't go crazy with the styling, and that's for a good reason because they know they'll sell many, many more bikes if they don't do something wild and zany. I think Yamaha has actively lost sales because the MT-07 looks so Transformers-like, bizarre-like, one could say. Who knows? Horsepower on this bad boy, 90.5 horsepower, 55.3 foot-pounds of torque out of a 755cc parallel twin engine with a 270-degree crank. So a little bit more top-end punch than the GSX 8S. Honda claims that they tried to give it the character of the original Honda Hornet with that top-end rush, kind of an exciting short-stroke engine, not a big long bore, not really torque-forced, more of a kind of peppy screamer of a parallel twin. Could be much more similar to this Tuono 660 factory that I have here right next to me, which I'll talk about in just a moment. But the Honda Hornet 750, really cool motorcycle. I think they're also going to sell a bunch of these because if people are cross-shopping MT-07s, Z650s, they're gonna see this Honda Hornet and say, wait a minute, why wouldn't I just buy the Honda Hornet? It is cheaper than the MT-07. It has more tech and features. It has more power. It has a bigger engine. Kind of just makes sense to just get the Hornet. So I really think Yamaha, with their updated MT-07 for 2023 with the TFT display and some of that stuff, is really going to have to come correct, because this market is now getting very tight and very competitive, which, speaking of, as I mentioned, 20660 factory over here, this is a giveaway motorcycle. I have this thing in my stable right now to give away to one of you lucky folks on YouTube. All you got to do to get entered to win is head over to YammieNoob.co, sign up and register and become a member, and you'll get access to win this motorcycle and all of our other amazing motorcycles as well. You can alternatively go to shop.YammieNoob.co, and every dollar you spend is an entry to win one of our giveaway motorcycles as well. Simply select the sweepstakes when you're picking out your prizes and picking out your gifts and those sort of things. Holiday season is over, but maybe you're picking up a gift. Whenever you're getting your product, select the sweepstakes, and then you will get entered to win these motorcycles as well. As I mentioned, this 20660 factory, parallel twin, 659 cc's, 100 horsepower, tons of tech. This is a great parallel twin motorcycle, and it would be really cool to compare the GSX 8S and the Honda Hornet 750 to something like the 20660, because I believe this is one of the very best naked bikes on sale today. So that's my spiel about the 20660 factory. Let's move on to our next motorcycle. All right, folks, next up for super hyped bikes for 2023 is that new Honda Hawk 11. Now, this one's kind of coming in under the radar. We haven't heard much about this motorcycle except for the fact that it's got this kind of neo-retro look. It's got the old 1100 cc's in it from the Honda Rebel 1100 and the Africa Twin. Honda's doing this thing where they have this modular platform that they're putting into different motorcycles, and that's the smart thing to do. Another bike on our list we're going to be talking about later is doing the exact same thing. Actually, two bikes on our list later are doing the exact same thing, because manufacturers have to keep those costs down. So, Honda Hawk 11, what is it? Well, it's kind of this like neo-retro cafe-ish bike, kind of harkening back to the old school Hawks from Honda, but it's got the single round headlight, kind of an MV Agusta vibe thing to it. But it's a pretty cool little motorcycle, and I think it's going to make a great case for itself. But unfortunately, it's going to come in at $14,499, which is pretty expensive for 100 horsepower and 76 foot-pounds of torque from that liquid-cooled parallel twin engine that is coming from that Africa Twin and the Rebel 1100 as well. Honda Hawk, really, really cool looking motorcycle. It remains to be seen how it will ride and feel. We don't know really what kind of frame design it's going to have or what really the intended purpose for this bike is, other than a cool bop around the street sort of motorcycle. I'd also be really interested to find out what the ergonomics on this bike are like. Are we talking about a bike that has super sport ergonomics, or maybe something more like the RS660 that's kind of splitting the difference between a street bike and a proper super sport? So Honda Hawk 11, many questions to be answered, and hopefully I'll get the chance to swing a leg over one in 2023. Let's check out our next motorcycle. Up next, we have a flagship bike that I think a lot of people are stoked on. It's that new 2023 Ducati Diavel V4. Now, I think it was kind of destined to happen, although I am a little bit sad that it has happened. The Diavel has gone from an L-twin to a V4 power plant, drawing from the Stradale V4 engine from the Multistrada, and that is also derived from the Panigale V4 and Street Fighter V4. So Ducati is taking this big bore V4 format and modulating it into these other motorcycles, which is pretty cool. However, the Diavel has always been about torque, and twins produce torque. And so in my opinion, making the Diavel a V4 is going to alter that character a little bit. I know that Ducati is going to be tuning it to produce a bunch of low-end torque, but it really remains to be seen whether it's going to deliver on that promise. So price point for this bad boy is $26,695. It is producing 168 horsepower, 93 foot-pounds of torque at 7,500 RPM out of an 1158cc liquid-cooled 4-cylinder V4 engine. Now, that's a pretty healthy amount of torque. It's a pretty big engine. It's going to be making a lot of power. But again, I think that this is kind of like more of a modern-day VMAX almost, right? A lot of top-end power, a lot of, screaming high revs, and that's a little bit different than a big, burly, torquey cruiser that you'd come to expect. I will say, though, the new styling on the Diavel is very cool. Ducati just makes really cool looking motorcycle. Their designers are just absolutely top-notch, super talented folks. The Desert X looks amazing. The Panigale looks amazing. The Diavel looks amazing. Have you seen the rear end on the Diavel? It's so cool, all those lights. Ducati just gets it right every single time. It's amazing to see. And hopefully I get the chance to swing a leg over Diavel and do a proper review on it. Because the Diavel, this point, it's kind of like a Triumph Rocket 3. Is it more of like a foot-forward cruiser, or is it not? We don't know. I'd love to ride one and find out. But I still think that it doesn't hold a candle to that 2009 spec Yamaha VMAX with a 1700cc V4 making 200 horsepower. I don't know why the Ducati Diavel doesn't do that, because Yamaha did it, you know, 14 years ago now, if my math is correct. And yeah, remains to be seen. But let's see the next bike on the list. All right, the next bike on the list is a supremely popular bike, and I think Royal Enfield is going to just sell them by the bucket loads. It's the Super Meteor 650. Now, this motorcycle was revealed at EICMA, and it received a biblical amount of hype. I think people were just so excited that Royal Enfield is going to be making a proper, honest-to-God entry-level cruiser to really compete with the likes of the Rebel 500 and other entry-level cruisers as well. But the thing I think Royal Enfield is going to knock out of the park is the pricing. So there's no pricing officially on this motorcycle yet, but I'm going to guess it's going to come in at $6,499, $6,499 US dollars. I think that's going to be the price point that we're going to see for the Super Meteor 650. And it's a really interesting bike. I think we're going to see a lot of hype around this motorcycle. And I think it's going to be a bike that might change the entry-level cruiser paradigm. And to be honest, it's kind of replacing the Sportster, because the Sportster doesn't really exist anymore because Harley-Davidson axed it. So Royal Enfield could not have timed this any better. For decades, other manufacturers have been trying to dethrone the Sportster, and now Royal Enfield, through really no fault of their own, they get the chance to do this with Harley literally stepping away from the throne by choice. Honda has been going to bat to try to dethrone the Sportster for decades. So has Yamaha with their Bolt lineup, and now Royal Enfield may end up doing it simply because they're going to have the right vacuum filled at the right time with the right priced motorcycle. So what is this bike featuring? About 47 horsepower, 38 foot-pounds of torque out of that tried and true 648cc parallel twin engine that you can find in the Interceptor and Continental GT motorcycles. I think it still remains to be seen, and I think Royal Enfield would do an awesome job if they did this. If they made a 650 Himalayan, they would sell a boatload of those, because it's a bunch of people that would be buying KLRs that would now buy a Royal Enfield Himalayan 650. So kind of funny if they were to do that. And maybe they'll do it right when Kawasaki decides to discontinue the KLR. I don't know. And then Royal Enfield just literally laughs themselves to the bank. So really excited about the Super Meteor 650. I definitely will have more news about that one later on in 2023. All right, folks, we're rounding out the list today. The next bike is the ultimate simp motorcycle. It's just like the bike that, like, you know, doctors and dentists and bankers just literally run out to go buy because they're going to go do their first track day and they need the best of the best. It's the new BMW M1000RR, the homologation spec King Dick leader bike that BMW is going to be making to hopefully try to unseat Ducati's World Superbike dominance in 2022. We'll see that if they can get it done in 2023 with Scott Redding and Garrett Gerloff on the Bonovo team, Scott Redding on the factory BMW team, but we shall see. So what's so special about this motorcycle? Well, winglets, technology, a $32,000 price tag, which is pretty spicy. But it's got literally everything BMW could possibly throw at it to make it a competitive package. Those who have ridden this motorcycle on track, I count myself the unlucky few who did not get an invite to go ride it on track, which is just so sad for me. Everybody says it's got this video game-like quality to it, very flattering and well-behaved motorcycle. Everybody says in the reviews that I saw that it's a motorcycle that really carries itself very well, tracks a very smooth line, isn't twitchy at all, much more stable given some changes in geometry. BMW is also piloting out a new swing arm, I think, on that bike too. So pretty sweet stuff. What's the power figures though? 205 horsepower, 83 foot-pounds of torque out of a 999cc motorcycle over there. And the BMW M1000RR is just the ultimate simp bike, isn't it? You look at that thing, you think about all the BMW M bros who would just absolutely gush over it and just, you know, want to jump at the teat and bite it clean off and have Papa BMW sizzling on down from the sky. I think that's what I want to say about the BMW M1000RR. Really, really sweet motorcycle, really, really cool, really flashy, but to be perfectly honest, I would still rather have a Panigale V4. Get mad, I don't care. Let's check out the last bike. All right, folks, the last motorcycle on the list today for the bikes that I'm most excited about in 2023 you've heard me talk about it before, and it's kind of a sleeper hit, I think, on this channel, because not many people know about it, to be honest, on this channel. It is the Moto Guzzi Mandello, baby. How great is this thing? This thing is beautiful. It's Moto Guzzi's first liquid-cooled, honest-to-God modern offering. It's got the frickin' active aero going on. What a cool motorcycle. The Moto Guzzi Mandello is a sweet ride, and it's got some pretty sweet specs to back it up, too. It's going to come in at $15,490, 115 horsepower, 77 foot-pounds of torque. Out of a 1042cc transverse 90-degree V-twin, you got the flying V from Moto Guzzi flying through time and space. Everybody loves to see that. And the Moto Guzzi Mandello is a pretty sweet ride. I really want to check one of these bikes out. Everyone that has ridden one says it is fantastic, works really well, beautiful to ride, a lot of tech and features from Aprilia because it's owned by the Piaggio group. They're kind of all under the same umbrella. You're seeing a lot of that trickle down to the Mandello, which is pretty cool. So beautiful motorcycle, really cool motorcycle. Would love to ride one in 2023 and report back to you guys what I think about it, because Guzzis are pretty unique, pretty different in the world of motorcycling. So guys, that's going to round out my list of the bikes I'm most excited about in 2023. Let me know down below what bikes you are most excited about and what bikes you thought were super cool in this list. Don't forget, we are giving away this 210 660 factory. Make sure you head over to yammynoob.co. Sign up as a member, become a member, join up, get access to our Discord server, all the entries to win this bike, the Ducati Street Fighter V4S, the KTM RC390, and our new modern classic, which we have not yet revealed because we still have to give away our Sportster 1200. Catch you guys in the next one. See you later. Well, look at you. You've made it to the end of another Yammie Noob video. You should consider yourself pretty lucky because I have curated this one right over here for you to continue watching. It's probably just as good as the one you just saw. Unless you hated the one you just saw. I don't know, maybe leave me a comment down below about how much you hated it as well too. Or just keep watching this one. Make sure you keep watching Yammie Noob. Don't forget to keep watching Yammie Noob. That's the most important thing. Keep watching Yammie Noob.